All right. What movie do you think had the most influence on the genre of science fiction?
Okay. Um, Having to sort it down to one movie is very difficult. But I'm going to have to say that Metropolis was extremely influential in showing a design of the future. Forbidden Planet was excruciatingly important because it showed faster than light travel, ray guns, invisible monsters, literally a brain the size of a planet, and probably Gene Roddenberry's mother was scared by it because certainly the movie Forbidden Planet looks like a really good Star Trek pilot.
Yeah.
The other thing that it influenced is Catwoman of the Moon, which is an excellent example of how not to do it. And unfortunately, many people who did it after that didn't get that not part.
I will sound off on, it may be kind of the easy way out, but I am going to say Star Wars, particularly the original, what is now Episode 4, I guess. Mainly because it broke out of the ghetto that science fiction was seen to be stuck in. Apparently Joseph Campbell was one of the consultants for the film, and he was consulted on mythic tradition, story arcs, the hero with 1,000 faces, the archetypal, the whole quest story. So you had a movie that resonated with a whole bunch of people, and lots of people who would never venture in to see a B-movie science fiction flick came and saw Star Wars multiple times. And I think that was probably the kick that made science fiction movies something that everyone went to.
Yes. Certainly, one thing it did was it pulled science fiction movies out of a horrible trend. If you look at the movies of the 70s, Soylent Green, all of those movies up until Star Wars in the 70s are downbeat. They are dystopian futures. They are give it up. There's no hope. Star Wars comes along and jump starts. It is a movie rooted in B traditions of black and white heroes and villains, but it's so optimistic, it is so forward-looking, it's so exciting that it basically killed off the dystopian futures from the mainstream of science fiction movies after that.
Michelle, you have a favorite yet?
I have 3 answers.
Okay.
One is, I don't know the title, it's the French film that gives us the iconic vision. It's one of the first films ever made with the rocket in the eye of the face of the moon.
Yes.
A Voyage de la Lune.
Yes.
A Trip to the Moon by Georges Méliès.
That was not only one of the first science fiction films, it was one of the first films ever, so that has to go in. And I would say 2001, A Space Odyssey. And for me personally, Star Trek, the motionless picture, because I was such a big Trekkie. I was failing English at the time, and my parents said that I could actually go. We were a little bit on limited income, and my parents let me go to the movies if I passed English. And that was the movie that let me go to the movies.
Well, in that case, it had some good effect.
Yes.
Let's see. Any nominations from Tim, our sound man?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that more recently, Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, only because it invented the whole sort of building the movie on the green screen technology. Although it was used somewhat in films before that, that one was made almost entirely with CG and people in front of the green screen, and now we're seeing a lot of movies which are being done that way.
Yeah, I'm okay. And Mark, did you have a hand up?
Yeah. I always thought 3 movies had an effect on science fiction. The first one would have been Things to Come from 1936. Movie written by an internationally known science fiction author, H.G. Wells. The next one, well, the 50s, to me, it's a toss-up between Forbidden Planet and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That seemed to have defined science fiction, but not quite like you'd expect. it would cast shadows later, much later, than the period it was in. Because if you think about it, though, the effect they had seemed to be delayed because nobody really tried anything like them until maybe 20, 30 years later. And then 2001, that was the big film that defined science fiction in its period. And then finally, last and probably not least, Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, I think looking though at the use of green screen, special effects, CGI, and so on, those are tools, and they can be used to make a really good movie, or they can be used to make a really bad or a really boring movie, remake of The Haunting at Hill House, for instance. So I'm not sure if it's really fair to cite advances in technology. It makes for really good eye candy, but the story has got to be there.
Certainly the most recent King Kong, which takes advantage of all the most modern technology, is nowhere near as great in making an impact as the original was,
Right.
limited to small sets and stop motion animation.
Exactly. Ed.
I do have a disagreement. Captain Power was TV, not a movie.
Yeah, I was going to say that it was actually Sky Captain and the World of
Captain.
Tomorrow.
Oh,
I raised my
yes.
hand. I just realized it's like, no, Captain Power was a TV show by J. Michael Straczynski, who went on to
Right.
do Babylon 5,
Yes.
which had its own merits, but that was not what we're talking about.
Yes, I used to have the poster up in the back.
Yeah. And I agree with Carl, Star Wars. Because before Star Wars, movies were, I mean, this is for all movies. Movies were lucky if they made 2 or 3 times their production cost. After Star Wars, movies started making 20, 30 times their production costs.
They did something right.
They did something right.
And with that, I think we'll do something right and close down.
Bye-bye.
Have a very good evening. Enjoy the meeting coming up. And those watching online, welcome to chime in on our question of the week. Geek or nerd, which are you?